Lily sat across from her husband, Alex, at a dimly lit restaurant table. Their anniversary dinner should have been a celebration, a night to reconnect and reminisce. Instead, it felt like a business meeting. Alex's eyes, glued to his phone, barely lifted to acknowledge her presence. Each ding of his notifications was a reminder of how far apart they had grown. Lily's heart ached with a longing she could no longer ignore. She had tried to reach out, to bridge the gap between them, but tonight, his neglect was the final straw. Lily's thoughts were interrupted by her phone buzzing. It was a message from Sarah, her best friend and confidant. "Come to the masquerade party tonight. You need a break." The attached invitation showcased an exclusive, high-profile event at a new nightclub. Lily hesitated. This wasn't her scene. But as she glanced at Alex, still engrossed in his emails, a flicker of rebellion sparked within her. "Alex, I'm going out with Sarah tonight," she said, more to herself than to him. He merely nodded, a noncommittal grunt his only response. That was all the encouragement she needed. As she prepared for the night, Lily felt a mix of guilt and excitement. She chose a dress that clung to her curves in all the right places, a deep shade of red that contrasted with the demure blacks and blues she usually wore. Her mask, intricate and mysterious, concealed her identity while revealing just enough to entice. Sarah arrived to help with her makeup, adding touches of drama that completed her transformation. "You look incredible, Lily. Tonight, forget about Alex. Just have fun," Sarah urged, a mischievous glint in her eye. The nightclub was a lavish spectacle, bathed in golden lights and filled with masked guests who moved with an air of secrecy and allure. The anonymity was intoxicating. Lily felt a sense of liberation she hadn't experienced in years. She moved through the crowd, her initial nervousness fading into the background noise of laughter and music. A tall man in a black mask approached her, his confident stride and piercing gaze capturing her attention immediately. "I'm Mr. X," he introduced himself, his voice smooth and inviting. "Care for a dance?" Lily's heart raced as she took his hand. As they swayed to the music, the intensity of his presence was overwhelming. He held her close, his touch igniting a spark she hadn't felt in years. Just as she was losing herself in the moment, another man joined them. This one wore a silver mask and exuded a playful, daring energy. "I'm Mr. Y," he said, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Mind if I cut in?" The two men seemed to know each other well, and they effortlessly drew Lily into their dynamic. Mr. X was all dark charm and seduction, while Mr. Y was the embodiment of adventure, pushing her boundaries with his daring suggestions. The chemistry between them was electric, each encounter a new thrill that left her craving more. As the night progressed, Mr. X and Mr. Y proposed a private game, a scavenger hunt within the club. "If you're up for an unforgettable experience," Mr. X whispered, his breath hot against her ear. Torn between fear and curiosity, Lily felt a surge of desire to break free from her mundane life. She nodded, her decision driven by the need to escape, to feel alive once more. The game was on, and she was ready to dive headfirst into whatever came next, no matter where it might lead. The first clue was slipped into her hand by Mr. X, his touch lingering just long enough to send a shiver down her spine. Lily unfolded the small piece of paper, revealing a cryptic message that promised adventure. The hunt had begun, and with it, the thrilling uncertainty that made her heart race. Each clue led her deeper into the heart of the nightclub, each task more daring than the last. One clue took her to the rooftop garden, where she had to whisper a secret into the ear of a stranger. The man, masked and mysterious, looked at her with an intensity that mirrored her own. Another clue brought her to the basement, where she had to retrieve a hidden token from beneath a table filled with playing cards and cigarette smoke. Every encounter was a blend of fear and excitement, pushing Lily further out of her comfort zone and deeper into this intoxicating game. One clue finally led her to a hidden room behind the bar. She hesitated, her hand trembling as she pushed open the heavy door. Inside, the room was bathed in soft, golden light, its luxurious furnishings creating an intimate and seductive setting. Mr. X and Mr. Y were waiting for her, their masks adding to the charged atmosphere. "Welcome, Lily," Mr. X said, his voice a low, enticing whisper. She stepped into the room, feeling the tension coil around her like a living thing. Mr. X moved closer, his eyes never leaving hers. Without a word, He leaned in and kissed her, his lips capturing hers with a hunger that took her breath away. Lily's mind swirled with an overwhelming mix of emotions, guilt, excitement, and a deep-seated longing that she had tried to suppress for far too long. Mr. Y watched, his eyes filled with a predatory interest. He moved to her other side, his touch just as electrifying. The men took turns, their advances growing bolder, each kiss and touch awakening desires that Lily had forgotten she possessed. The boundaries of her previous life blurred, fading into the background as she surrendered to the moment. Despite the pleasure, guilt gnawed at her. She thought of Alex, of their life together, and questioned if she was making a terrible mistake or discovering a part of herself that had been buried under years of neglect and routine. The conflict raged within her, even as her body responded eagerly to the attentions of Mr. X and Mr. Y. The trio took a brief respite, allowing Lily a moment to catch her breath. She found herself sitting between the two men, their presence both comforting and overwhelming. They began to talk, sharing snippets of their lives. Mr. X revealed himself to be a successful businessman, disillusioned with the superficial relationships that came with his status. Mr. Y, equally accomplished, spoke of his own frustrations with conventional relationships. Their stories resonated deeply with Lily, echoing her own feelings of entrapment and yearning for something more. Their brief interlude ended, and the men led her back to the dance floor. The pulsing music and swirling lights seemed to heighten the thrill of their game. In the midst of the masked revelers, Mr. X and Mr. Y continued their seductive dance with Lily, their hands and bodies moving in perfect harmony with hers. The public setting added a layer of danger and excitement, making her feel more alive than she had in years. Lily was swept up in the fervor of the night, each moment blending into the next in a haze of sensuality and desire. She felt a profound awakening within herself, a breaking free from the confines of her mundane life. As the night wore on, she was no longer the neglected wife of a workaholic husband. She was a woman rediscovering her power, her desires, and the intoxicating thrill of living on the edge. In a dimly lit alcove of the nightclub, the music a distant throb, Lily found herself nestled between Mr. X and Mr. Y. The intensity of the evening had created a palpable bond between them, a shared sense of adventure that felt strangely intimate. In this quiet moment, words seemed to flow more easily. "I feel so neglected by my husband," Lily confessed, her voice barely audible over the background hum. "Our anniversary dinner tonight was just another reminder of how distant we've become. He's always consumed by work, and I feel invisible." Mr. X's hand gently squeezed hers. "You're not invisible, Lily. You're a remarkable woman who deserves to be seen and cherished." Mr. Y nodded in agreement. "I've been there, in a way. I'm married too, but our relationship is open. It allows us the freedom to explore our desires without feeling trapped." Lily's eyes widened in shock and intrigue. The concept of an open marriage was foreign to her, challenging the conventional norms she had always adhered to. It was a revelation that made her question everything she thought she knew about relationships and fidelity. Their conversation was interrupted by a new clue, leading them to a private lounge. The room was secluded and luxurious, a sanctuary away from the bustling crowd. The intimacy of the setting heightened the charged atmosphere, making Lily acutely aware of her own desires. Torn between her inhibitions and the overwhelming urge to continue, she felt the men's eyes on her, full of promise and anticipation. As they moved further into the lounge, Lily's heart skipped a beat. She spotted a familiar face from her social circle across the room. Panic surged through her veins, but Mr. X and Mr. Y acted swiftly, guiding her to a more hidden corner and shielding her from view. The near exposure intensified the secretive and forbidden nature of their encounter, making her pulse race with a mix of fear and excitement. In the sanctuary of the restroom, Lily grappled with her emotions. She felt alive and liberated, yet deeply conflicted. The thrill of the night contrasted sharply with her ingrained morals and the life she had known. The duality of her desires and her sense of guilt created a storm of emotions that left her breathless and uncertain. But as she stared at her reflection in the mirror, she made a decision. Returning to Mr. X and Mr. Y, she looked them in the eyes and declared, "I want to continue. Tonight is about discovering who I really am, breaking free from the constraints of my life." The men respected her decision, their eyes lighting up with admiration and promise. "We'll make this night unforgettable, Mr. X vowed. The intimacy between them intensified, each touch and kiss pushing Lily further into uncharted territory. The boundaries of her previous life seemed to disintegrate with every caress. Mr. X's hands explored her body with a confident precision, while Mr. Y's playful yet firm touch ignited fires within her she didn't know existed. They took turns seducing her, their contrasting styles blending into a symphony of pleasure and discovery. In the midst of this intoxicating experience, Lily felt a profound awakening. She was no longer the neglected wife, the invisible woman. She was a powerful, desirable being, exploring the depths of her sexuality and her identity. The layers of her personality she had long suppressed began to reveal themselves, each moment a step further away from the life she thought she knew. The night continued in a blur of passion and revelation, the outside world fading into insignificance. Each encounter, each whispered promise, drew her deeper into the vortex of her desires, making her yearn for more. As the intensity of their connection reached its peak, Lily felt a sense of liberation that was both exhilarating and terrifying. There was no turning back. The woman she had been was gone, replaced by someone who was finally, fully alive. In the dim, intimate glow of the private lounge, the energy between the trio reached a fever pitch. Mr. Y, driven by the mounting passion, slowly lifted his mask halfway. Lily's breath caught in her throat as she saw a familiar yet unplaceable face. Her curiosity burned, but the moment's intensity pulled her back into the whirlwind of desire, too engrossed to dwell on the revelation. The door creaked open unexpectedly, and there stood Sarah, her eyes widening at the scene before her. For a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze. Then, with a knowing look, Sarah quickly retreated, closing the door behind her. Lily's heart pounded as she wondered what Sarah thought of her now, but the men's touches quickly drew her back into the moment, their hands and lips a compelling distraction. "Let's play a game of trust, Mr. X suggested, producing a silk blindfold. He covered Lily's eyes, the darkness heightening her other senses. The men guided her through a series of sensual experiences, each touch and whisper pushing her to new heights of vulnerability and connection. The trust required for such intimacy deepened their bond, creating a potent mix of arousal and emotional intensity. In a brief interlude, as Lily stood near the entrance, she overheard a hushed conversation between Mr. X and Mr. Y. Their words were cryptic, but the gist was clear. Their meeting her had been no mere coincidence. A chill of intrigue and suspicion mingled with the warmth of her desire. What were their true motivations? And how deep did their knowledge of her life go? The mood shifted when another woman approached Mr. X, her intentions clear. Lily felt a sharp pang of jealousy, an emotion that surprised her with its intensity. She had thought this night was about freedom and exploration, but the possessiveness she felt towards Mr. X and Mr. Y forced her to confront the depth of her feelings for them. This wasn't just a game, it was becoming something much more complex and consuming. Later, back in the private room, Sarah confronted Lily. The tension was palpable as Sarah voiced her concerns. "Lily, what are you doing? What about Alex? Your marriage?" Lily's defense was passionate. "Sarah, I need this. I've felt trapped for so long. This is the first time I've felt truly alive. It's not about Alex, it's about discovering myself." Sarah's eyes softened slightly, though her worry remained. "Just be careful, Lily. Don't lose yourself in this." As the night began to wind down, Mr. X and Mr. Y pulled Lily close, their voices filled with promise and temptation. "This doesn't have to end tonight," Mr. X whispered. "We can explore more, push further." Lily's heart raced with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The night had been a whirlwind of revelations and intense experiences, and the prospect of more was both thrilling and daunting. The tantalizing promise of future encounters lingered in her mind, a dangerous allure that she couldn't resist. The room buzzed with the residue of their passion, the promise of what was to come hanging heavy in the air. Lily felt herself teetering on the edge of an abyss, ready to dive deeper into the unknown. The shadows of her past life receding as she stepped further into the light of her awakening desires. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: there was no turning back. Lily woke up the next morning, sunlight filtering through the curtains of her bedroom. Her head swam with the memories of the previous night, the intensity of the encounters replaying in her mind. She felt a rush of exhilaration, mixed with a deep, gnawing guilt. How was she going to face Alex? The thought of him brought a heavy weight to her chest, yet she couldn't shake the thrill she had felt with Mr. X and Mr. Y. At breakfast, Alex was predictably absorbed in his work, his laptop open next to his coffee cup. He barely looked up as Lily entered the room. The silence between them was deafening. His indifference only reinforced her feelings of neglect, justifying, in her mind, the actions of the previous night. Lily's phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Mr. X. Meet me at the Café Solitude at noon. Alone. The secrecy and allure of the invitation were irresistible. The excitement she had felt last night surged back, overpowering her guilt. She decided to go, craving the thrill and the sense of liberation she had experienced. At noon, Lily found herself at Café Solitude, a quaint, secluded spot that seemed worlds away from her everyday life. Mr. X was already there, waiting for her. He stood as she approached, his presence as commanding and magnetic as it had been the night before. Lily, he greeted her with a smile, pulling out a chair for her. As they sat down, he began to talk about his life. He revealed himself to be a well-known entrepreneur, his face and name familiar from business magazines and news articles. This revelation added layers of mystery and danger to his interest in her. As they talked, Lily began to realize that Mr. X knew more about her life than she had initially thought. He subtly hinted at knowing Alex, dropping details that sent a chill down her spine. How much did he know? And why was he so interested in her? Later, she met Mr. Y in a different location, a more casual setting that contrasted sharply with the opulence of the nightclub. When he removed his mask fully, Lily's breath caught in her throat. She recognized him immediately as a colleague from her law firm, someone she had worked with closely. The shock of his true identity complicated her feelings, adding a layer of danger and intrigue to their relationship. Back home, Lily began piecing together the connections between Mr. X, Mr. Y, and her own life. The realization that these men had been orchestrating events to draw her in both excited and terrified her. Their calculated moves, their deep knowledge of her life, made her question their true intentions. As she sat alone in her room, the events of the past day and night swirling in her mind, Lily felt a mixture of fear and anticipation. She was caught in a web of intrigue and desire, one that was rapidly spiraling out of control. The thrill of the unknown, the danger, and the forbidden passion pulled her deeper into the abyss, making her yearn for more even as she feared what lay ahead. The lines between her mundane life and this new, exhilarating world were blurring, and Lily was no longer sure where one ended and the other began. The only certainty was that there was no turning back. The path she had chosen was fraught with peril and excitement, and she was determined to see where it led. Lily's heart pounded as she stepped into the opulent penthouse, its panoramic windows offering a breathtaking view of the city lights below. Mr. X and Mr. Y were already there, their presence filling the luxurious space with an air of anticipation and tension. The setting was perfect for the intimate dinner they had promised, a night that would push the boundaries of her emotions and desires. The dinner began with a toast, the clinking of crystal glasses echoing in the lavish room. Over exquisite dishes and fine wine, they began to share deeply personal stories. Mr. X spoke of his struggles with superficial relationships and his yearning for something real and meaningful. Mr. Y opened up about his dissatisfaction with conventional norms and his pursuit of genuine connections. Their confessions resonated with Lily, stirring feelings of connection and understanding she had never felt with Alex. As the evening progressed, they proposed a final game, an unmasking, both literal and metaphorical. Each of them would take turns revealing truths about themselves, their pasts, and their intentions. The atmosphere grew thick with tension and anticipation as they began. Mr. X started, removing his mask slowly. Lily's breath caught in her throat as the face beneath was revealed. Daniel, Alex's closest friend and business partner. The shock hit her like a physical blow. How could she not have recognized him? A deep sense of betrayal and confusion overwhelmed her. Daniel, why? Lily's voice trembled as she demanded answers. The room seemed to close in around her, the intimacy of the dinner now a suffocating trap. Daniel's eyes were filled with a mix of guilt and determination. Lily, I've always admired you, always felt a connection. Alex never deserved you. This was my way of showing you there's more to life than what he can offer. Mr. Y, now unmasked as Mark, her colleague from the law firm, tried to mediate. "We never meant to hurt you, Lily." This was about discovering something deeper, something real. But the revelation only fueled the turmoil inside her. Trapped between her desire for Daniel and her loyalty to Alex, she felt the walls closing in. Daniel proposed an arrangement, suggesting they continue their encounters discreetly. He argued that their relationship was built on a deeper understanding and fulfillment that Alex could never provide. Lily's mind raced, grappling with her morals and desires. The idea of continuing this affair, of living a double life, was both intoxicating and terrifying. She left the penthouse in a daze, the weight of her decisions pressing down on her. Seeking solace, she went to Sarah's place, confessing the entire affair through tears and anguish. Sarah listened, her face a mix of shock and concern. "Lily, you can't keep living like this. You need to confront Alex and tell him everything. Living a lie will only destroy you from the inside." Sarah's words resonated deeply, but the fear of the potential fallout kept Lily paralyzed. After a sleepless night filled with restless thoughts and conflicting emotions, she made a decision. She arranged to meet Daniel one last time. Meeting him in a secluded cafe, Lily took a deep breath and spoke with a clarity she hadn't felt in days. "Daniel, our time together has been eye-opening, but I can't continue this affair. I need to face Alex and address the issues in my marriage. I can't live a lie." Daniel's eyes reflected a mix of disappointment and understanding. "I respect your decision, Lily. But know that what we shared was real." With a heavy heart, Lily left the cafe, the weight of her decision pressing down on her. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, filled with painful confrontations and difficult truths. But for the first time in a long while, she felt a glimmer of resolve. It was time to face the consequences of her actions and rebuild her life from the ashes of her choices. Lily spent the day in a state of heightened anxiety, preparing herself mentally and emotionally for the confrontation with Alex. She sat at her desk, surrounded by crumpled pieces of paper, each failed attempt at finding the right words. Finally, she began to write, pouring out her feelings of neglect and loneliness, and the events that had led her to seek solace in the arms of others. That evening, she waited for Alex in their living room, the note clutched tightly in her hands. When he arrived, she took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice trembling with emotion. "Alex, we need to talk," she started, her eyes meeting his. She detailed her feelings of isolation, her longing for connection, and how his constant absence had driven her to a place of desperation. She then slowly unveiled the affair, watching as disbelief and shock played across his face. As the reality of her confession sank in, Alex's shock turned to rage. "How could you, Lily? How could you betray me like this?" His voice rose, trembling with anger. He accused her of selfishness, of destroying their life together. The argument that ensued was intense, both of them hurling accusations and regrets, their words cutting deep. When Lily revealed Daniel's involvement, Alex's fury reached a boiling point. "Daniel, my best friend? How long has this been going on?" The betrayal cut him deeply, the realization that his workaholism had pushed Lily away only adding to his anguish. The confrontation left them both emotionally drained. They spent the night in separate rooms, each grappling with their own pain and confusion. The household felt heavy with tension and unspoken words, the silence between them louder than any argument. The next day, Alex confronted Daniel at their office. The confrontation quickly turned physical, resulting in a public spectacle that impacted their business relationship. The scandal spread rapidly through their social and professional circles, the fallout affecting everyone involved. Lily, feeling lost in the aftermath of her revelations, retreated to Sarah's house seeking comfort and advice. Sarah listened, her concern for Lily evident. "You need to take time for yourself, Lily. Figure out what you truly want," she advised, her words offering a semblance of clarity amidst the chaos. Unexpectedly, Mark reached out to Lily, expressing his guilt for his part in the affair. He offered his support and confessed his own dissatisfaction with his life, creating an unlikely bond between them. Their conversations provided Lily with a sense of understanding and camaraderie, a small beacon of light in her tumultuous world. As news of the affair spread, Lily faced judgment and gossip from her peers. She felt isolated and ashamed, yet paradoxically liberated from the secrets she had been carrying. The public scrutiny was harsh, but it forced her to confront the reality of her actions and their consequences. Daniel, seeking closure, reached out to Lily for a final meeting. They met in a secluded park where Daniel apologized for his actions, admitting his own failings. "I'm sorry, Lily. I hope we can find peace separately," he said, his voice heavy with regret. Taking Sarah's advice to heart, Lily began reevaluating her relationships, not just with Alex but with herself. She started therapy, addressing her feelings of neglect and self-worth. This journey of self-discovery was painful but necessary, each session peeling back layers of her identity she had long ignored. Meanwhile, Alex confronted his own issues. He realized that his neglect had contributed to the breakdown of their marriage. He started attending therapy sessions and took steps to balance his work and personal life better. Their paths, though separate, were intertwined by the need for healing and understanding. Lily and Alex decided on a trial separation, giving each other the space to heal and figure out their paths forward. The decision was painful but necessary, the time apart allowing them to reflect on their individual needs and desires. The affair had repercussions in Lily's professional life as well. She faced challenges at work, including strained relationships with colleagues who learned about her involvement with Mark. The professional fallout was difficult, but it also pushed her to reassess her career and aspirations. Amidst the turmoil, Lily received an unexpected job offer from a prestigious law firm in another city. The opportunity presented a chance for a fresh start in professional growth. Faced with the job offer, Lily stood at a crossroads. Should she stay and rebuild her life with Alex or take a leap of faith and pursue a new beginning on her own? Before making her decision, Lily wrote a heartfelt letter to Alex, expressing her regrets, hopes, and love. She left it for him to read, hoping it would help him understand her choices and the reasons behind them. Ultimately, Lily decided to accept the job offer. She felt that a fresh start was what she needed to fully heal and rediscover herself. She informed Alex, who, despite his own pain, was supportive of her decision. Their goodbye was bittersweet, filled with tears and an acknowledgement of the love they still had for each other. They both understood that they needed time apart to heal and grow, their farewell marked by a mix of sorrow and a glimmer of hope for the future. Lily moved to the new city and started her new job, immersing herself in her work and slowly building a new life. She found happiness and fulfillment on her own terms, learning to navigate the complexities of her emotions and desires. Despite the distance, Lily stayed in touch with Sarah and Mark. Their friendships provided her with a sense of stability and support as she navigated her new life. Over time, Lily discovered new passions and interests. She took up painting and joined a local book club, gradually building a community and a sense of belonging in her new city. Months later, Lily received a letter from Alex. He wrote about his own journey of healing and self-discovery, expressing hope that they could reconnect someday, even if just as friends. The letter was a testament to the growth and understanding they had both achieved. Sitting by the window of her new apartment, Lily reflected on her journey. She acknowledged her mistakes but also recognized the strength and courage it took to rebuild her life. The path had been fraught with pain and challenges, but it had also led to profound self-discovery and growth. One evening, there was a knock on Lily's door. She opened it to find Alex standing there, looking hopeful yet nervous. He told her that he had taken a job in her city and wanted to try rebuilding their relationship, starting as friends. Lily and Alex sat together, talking late into the night. They laughed, cried, and shared their dreams for the future. The story ended with a sense of tentative hope, as they both acknowledged the long road ahead but were willing to walk it together, one step at a